Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Connections. I'm your host, Seth Weiner, your Rocktioneer. This is our debut, so thank you all for joining us. Insights with Innovators here in the Atlanta area. We're talking to nonprofits today. I want to welcome everybody. I want to welcome Cathy Parlato. Ladies and gentlemen, Cathy. Hi, Cathy.
Hi, everybody.
Now, Cathy, you grew up in Atlanta. Just a quick little bio of Cathy, if you will. She grew up in Atlanta. She's traveled all the way to the West Coast and back, living in Colorado, living in California. And you've been involved with nonprofits for many, many years. And currently, you're here in Atlanta working with the Waldorf School of Atlanta. You are their development and marketing director. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's
How
great
are
to
you
be
today?
back in my hometown and serving the community that I grew up in. So it's a very cool experience to come full circle and land back in Atlanta and such a great time in this city.
And an interesting time nonetheless.
Yeah.
Now it's coffee, connection. So I've got my coffee mug here. Uh, this is my son gave me this, and I don't know if he gave it to me because it was his way of saying that I'm just okay, or if it's his way of saying, "Hey, Dad, I got your sense of humor."
Well, I definitely think that you are more than an okay dad. You are a stellar dad.
Well, I
So
thank you. What are you drinking out of?
I've got a little coffee cup that says we are all born superstars, something, a little handmade piece of pottery that I bought in the Keys with some friends. So
Well, I'm glad you don't put your
yeah,
keys in it and you put coffee in it.
that's right. Would not be good
Now,
for a key flavored coffee.
so coffee. Before we get into anything else, I need to know French press or drip.
Depends. Every day I do drip, but if I'm on around the campfire, I like to do the Boletti.
Okay, okay. And iced or hot?
Definitely hot.
And final question, dark, medium, where do you go?
The darker, the better.
All right. So I want to start off by having you talk a little bit about Waldorf School of Atlanta, what their mission
Sure.
is, and just, tell everyone that's watching a little bit about Waldorf.
Sure. The Waldorf School was founded in 1986, so we've got over 30 something years of experience educating children in Atlanta. We're the only Waldorf school here in Atlanta, which is pretty awesome. There are over 1,000 Waldorf schools in worldwide, so it's actually 1,200 Waldorf schools worldwide. It was a movement that was started over 100 years ago. We actually celebrated our centennial anniversary of worldwide Waldorf education in 2019. So we are now 101 years old as Waldorf education, where the Waldorf School of Atlanta has 34 years of Waldorf education here in Atlanta and Decatur. So we usually have around 250 families, all very engaged, actually 250 children, all very engaged folks who want to serve the school and be part of the school. It's not just a place that you send your kids to school. You show up to work days, you volunteer your time, you go camping with other families, and so it's a very involved and special community. The pedagogy, the type of education, is really interesting in the sense that um, it's not just a cookie cutter type of education. They teach to the child and their individual development. So you might have seen some of the stuff around town or on the internet about childhood first. So essentially, that statement means that no matter what we're doing, we put childhood first, the development of the child first and foremost in front of everything. So not to do testing and all the things that take away from childhood. We intentionally consider technology testing, when to teach reading, how to structure classes. So it's a very intentional type of education that I find. My son goes to Waldorf School. So I find as a parent, it feels really good to put your child in a place that is very supportive, and it looks at your child as who they are and where they need to be. And it takes them where they need to be, not just educationally, but on a social basis, emotionally, and also we spend a lot of time outside. So
Absolutely. And I will say my son is in your son's class, so that's
yeah.
always a nice thing. But speaking of classes, before we get into fundraising or any of that sort of stuff, because obviously, as Your Rocktioneer, I love talking about fundraising. But I'm very curious, though. The school is going through such an interesting transition. They're one of the only schools here in Atlanta that's going to be opened, and they're doing outdoor classrooms. Can you talk a little bit about what changes Waldorf's people can look at and see what Waldorf's going to be doing in this upcoming semester?
Absolutely. I think we are uniquely positioned to provide an outdoor education. I mean, that's something, it's one of our core qualities of keeping childhood first is getting these children out and experiencing their bodies and experiencing their themselves socially out when they're playing and teaching them out in the glade. So we've got 6 acres in the city of Decatur, and we've got this lovely glade. We've got a few different playgrounds. We've got 3 different buildings, so we won't be using those as much. We have 8 outdoor classrooms, so very large tents and set up different places around our 6 acres that are set up with places to sit and desks and a whole learning environment. So each classroom is designated for each grades class. So we've got grades 1 through 8. And they're going to be spending different parts of their day, but the majority of the day in those outdoor classrooms, doing what they do inside, but it's just going to be on an outdoor, in the outdoor classroom. So it's really awesome that we don't have to, I mean, they'll still be doing the typical things about wearing masks, keeping social distancing and all that, those kind of things going. But I think it's super cool that we're able to start in that environment, and we'll see how it goes. But I know that campus has been a buzz the past 2 to 3
Is that because they're outside and there's bees? What do you mean a buzz?
Well, we do have some hives. So yes, we have hives, we have gardens.
How many kids do you expect in a class? Is there a cap?
There will be, so the safety regulations that we're putting in now with COVID-19, there's going to have groups of 12. So each class may have more than 12. I think one of our, I think it's 6th grade. One of the either 5th or 6th grade has 24 children, but that's a group that stayed together. So their constitution is strong. But essentially, they're going to break that class into 2 pods, so that one may be inside, one may be in their outdoor classroom. Our grade, 2nd grade, for example, we will have 10 students, and so they will stay in one educational pod and stay together.
And what's to happen if someone gets COVID, if a teacher gets COVID or one of the students, etc.?
That's a great question. I was just on a call last week, and it is amazing the amount of work that our faculty, our administration, everybody has done to prepare for how to answer those questions and how to hopefully avoid that. We're asking the community to step up in a lot of ways, and so if every family can maintain their safety protocols of wearing masks while out in public, keeping social distancing. So essentially being mindful on their lives outside of school. And then so that when you come to school, you know that you're pretty safe. So if somebody does get COVID, basically the classes will go. That's one of the reasons for the educational pods. That class will go into remote learning, and we're set up to just kind of seamlessly transition into remote learning. That class will go into remote learning, and we'll do that for about quarantine time. So 2 weeks or however it's determined that it's safe to come back to school. But the other children will, and other classes and teachers will stay in school. So we're hoping that it won't pull the whole school. It'll just be one small group of people.
Or none. That'd be amazing. Really hope so. But then I imagine a lot of the parents are working hard to keep their exposure down as well, being such a tight-knit community.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that this has demonstrated to me, is that we're all so connected. And you wouldn't imagine that a cough or a sneeze shows that we're all connected. But, you think of out in the world and how this whole thing has been transmitted, and it's like we are all connected. So, my actions affect your health and safety. So I think, putting that on the positive light, we all have a responsibility to keep each other safe. So.
Wow, it sounds like you guys have been really busy. I mean, there's so many questions that come to mind, and I'm just amazed at the work that has been done to make this happen. I know my son is super excited about the banquet tent and learning.
Yeah.
Are they on regular desks and chairs, or is it totally different, like Waldorf style? Wooded and kind of fun.
Yeah, totally wouldn't. I mean, I'm not sure what I haven't seen the seating arrangement from the outdoor classrooms.
Hmm.
I can imagine it's wooden chairs. That's what we have inside the class in each classroom inside the building. Um, but
When it
yeah,
comes to
I can share that with you, and I can share it with this group or up on the Waldorf Facebook page. Once I get, I'm going to do a work day. I think it's Thursday morning, so I think we'll be. I don't know if we're putting together the chairs in those outdoor classrooms on Thursday morning, but I'll see what I can capture for you guys.
all right, yeah, you do that. And then what about play? I mean, the kids there. One of the biggest things is running around and playing. I mean, most schools have recess, but recess is a subject at Waldorf, which is amazing. Um, these kids are running and getting outdoors, and they're playing tag, and they're just climbing trees, etc. Are they going
Right.
to be wearing masks this whole time, or when they're playing tag? Are they going to be playing tag? I mean, how does play change?
I don't. I really don't have the answer to that question as far as like
Okay.
if tag will be allowed. Um, but you're right. I think it's a great point, Seth, that play will be changed. I'm sure there will be new games, new rules. I mean, kids are so resilient, and they are going to think about how to play tag with maybe not touching. I'm guessing that's probably going to be it, but I think that they will have to wear masks as much as possible.
So they're going to be playing telepathy tag. I love it. Only at Waldorf. Only at Waldorf.
Okay.
Is
Yeah.
there anything else you want to share about the fall semester coming up in Waldorf? What
Yeah,
in
I
terms
think
of what to do?
to what you were saying about that, a lot of schools have more traditional schools have a subject that's just recess. They get 30 minutes outside. If it's raining, it's canceled. That is not what Waldorf is about. We have kind of rolling times. I think the kids are outside. It depends on what your class is. If you're, in first grade, I know that our kids last year were out. They started their day outside for about 30 to 45 minutes. So they have multiple times. So recess isn't just a thing. It's actually more of the educational lifestyle. It's built into the pedagogy of learning outside and creating that social structure outside. It's not just seated because. So I think it'll be interesting to see how now that we're swinging the pendulum to
Mhm.
outdoor more outdoor time. I mean, they've got a pretty long walk up to the building. I mean, these kids are going to be super active. I think they're going to be good and tired at the end of the day. So tired and happy
Yeah,
kids is always the goal.
excellent. Well, part of Coffee Connections is to talk about the insights, and you are an innovator. I mean, I've had the pleasure of working with you.
Yeah,
This past spring, we had an amazing auction planned,
yeah, we
and
did.
we were able to execute it totally differently. And
Yeah.
it took some time, and then it happened. And I'd just like you to share some of the what's going on with fundraising with Waldorf, and what have you done to make some changes. Let's just kind of get in a conversation and a dialogue. And again, I'm hoping that those that are tuning in uh, that are struggling and asking questions on their own, what they can do for fundraising, maybe this will get you thinking about what others have done and what might work for you.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's the cool thing about fundraising, whether you're fundraising for a school or a small nonprofit or a large nonprofit, is we can all share this information about what's working. Once we take out, I know that a big deal for fundraising is in-person events. I mean, we all love to gather, listen to some music, have a nice little cocktail party, or there's all kinds of things that we love to do. I think the auction was the perfect example. We call it the party of the year. We don't pretty much everybody comes to this, so as
But
many people as possible. Hmm?
what you're saying though is it's community. Like the auction isn't just raising money, but it's a chance for community, for these parents
Yes,
of these children that maybe go through year after year after year to actually get a chance to know each other outside of just maybe, like you said, doing one of the work days or whatnot. A lot of these
right.
parents don't get a chance to meet each other in a social environment like the auction. There's such a value there.
I agree, and I think you probably see it in what you do, is these people get to come together, and they have a great time once a year, which is wonderful when we can do that. So kind of taking that off the map of we're not doing in-person events, how do you get people together? How do you get people excited about their organization? How do you get them connected? I know we use a ton of screen time, but I think, Seth, you and I, we really bounce a ton of ideas off each other. As we were saying, as we were figuring out, okay, there's no in-person auction, wonderful. We had planned all these wonderful cocktails and entertainment and everything, beautiful auction items, amazing experiences. How are we going to sell these? How are we going to get people together and get excited? Mm-hmm. So I think we came up with a few pretty good ideas. We did two things. We did a virtual auction. It wasn't just a one-time auction that was just a Saturday night from 7 to 9, kind of the same thing. It was more of a stretched out over 5 days. Started on a Thursday night and ended on a Tuesday night. We had a launch thing, and then so we launched it online so everybody could see all the items online. You could bid on it, kind of take your time with it. We had a little cocktail special of like delivered cocktails. So that was kind of an in-person thing that people could enjoy as they bid on items and, had cocktail hour and maybe browse some shopping items. And then Saturday night, it was a Saturday that we did a on-campus drive-through. We have some really beautiful pieces of art, and we call them class projects. So every class is responsible for creating a really cool project. And usually they're gorgeous pieces of art. There's a lot of handmade furniture, some paintings, some handmade wall hangings and quilts, and like really gorgeous things that are hard. If you're looking at a screen and things are about this big, you're like, how beautiful is that when it's this big? So we decided to invite people to campus. They had to stay in their cars. Seth, you were there, so you can talk to everybody's excitement about being back on campus. They were like, woohoo! So they drove through campus, kind of down and around. We had
prizes at the front. Don't forget that, right?
Oh yeah, we had so one of our amazing parents makes a kombucha drink. So we were handing out cold kombuchas. We were handing out there was kind of toilet paper shortage. So we wanted to bring a smile to people's face and say, have some toilet paper on us. Drive through, talk to some teachers. We kept it really, really distant. So I think there was like 15 to 20 feet between everybody, each project.
If not more. And then you also had the FM transmitter.
That's
so
right.
You had Ian Schumacher, I always press his last name. I feel
Mocker.
Mocker. Okay, I did it right.
Yeah.
So Ian's a Grammy musician, and he played music for everyone as they're driving their cars. And then people also kind of hang out in their cars, almost like a drive-in after for a little bit.
Yeah, they pulled around because you and Ian were kind of at the bottom of the lane, the carpool lane. So people kind of pulled around on their cars, and they had, it was a hot day. So whether the windows were up or down, the AC was on. I actually got in someone's car and talked to somebody else in the car, and we were listening to you guys bantering and playing music, and it was just a really fun time.
It was, and the kids had popsicles. You had popsicles for the kids, which that helped to cool it off a little bit. But I thought it really brought a sense of community to folks that were coming through.
Yeah,
remember. These kids haven't seen their teachers in weeks. It was like, rip, we'll see you in a week. We'll see you in a month. We're not going to see you. I mean, it was a way to deal with some trauma, emotional trauma in a way.
Yeah.
And it did bring a lot of light, to be able to show those auction items, and it just brought joy to people to have something to do, to drive through like that and have something to do. So that was very successful. And what was the feedback you got from some of the parents that came through?
I loved it. It was so much fun that I heard this from a few people. They said, you know what? This is so much fun to come to campus and be able to see all the auction projects as a preview. Can we do this next year? Can we do this every year? So one of the things about our auction projects is the kids have some sort of involvement with either making a piece of it or actually making a large portion of it. But the kids never get to see the completed auction items. So it actually involved our kids in the whole auction process of kind of seeing it full circle. So they actually saw the painting and that their fingerprints were the leaves on the trees. So those kind of things. So I got to hear a lot of great feedback from that side of people wanted to do it again. And I think if we can gather next year and we're actually having an in-person auction, I would be more than happy to put that together. It was just so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat thing about the like, silver linings and whatnot, but really like the changes that we've had to make,
Mm-hmm.
they're not just like small changes that go you do once and you're gone. We're changing the way we think. We're changing the world we live in, and it's just interesting because every year, like, what are we going to do different for the auction? Well, now you have no, now you've got like, oh, I never even thought about doing it that way,
Right.
and I love the story of the kids, like, not being able to see the auction items until now, like
Right.
that's, I'm like, oh wow, there's value there, and there's also value on the auction items when those kids see them.
That's right. Because then the kids are like, look, mom, there's my fingerprint, or I made this part of it. And so the parents are like, oh, I need to get that. So it might help with the bidding and helping raise the bidding. I definitely feel like
Okay.
having so we had a auction platform, online platform. So, people can come in and it's very pretty. Um, and you could have beautiful descriptions of everything, but truly I feel like it's like shopping on eBay. That's a very impersonal way of experiencing something, and you don't really get the sense of what something is until you see it live in person. So I think that's more what our school is about, is experiencing our community in person and experiencing the items in person. So I think it helped raise the excitement if we didn't have an in-person event, even though it was a very highly controlled in-person event, even though it felt fun.
Well, and then that closing night, we did the live auction. We did a live event, if you will, through Zoom. What were some of the why don't you share a little bit about what was done there?
Sure.
And most importantly, how did it go? Did it raise money? Did it raise the money that you expected? Did it raise the money you needed? And did it did it solve the problem of connecting community?
Yeah. Yes. I was, and you and I, Seth, worked on dreaming up what we can do on Zoom together, and how to bring the community together. And so I think our team of you, me, Ian Schumacher, and Darla, who was like, we were like the four people that put it all together. We were like, okay, well, we all love music. We've got a musician in hand. We've got this amazing auctioneer, Seth, who's like, I can hold the mic and I can make this party happen. I'm like, I got a musician, I got an awesome auctioneer. What can we do? Let's do so we did a auction finale dance party. So we had to think about, I don't remember how many people, I want to say around 60-ish.
60,000?
60,000. I think it was maybe 60 to 70 people tuned in, at least that many screens. There were multiple people in the screen, so it was kid friendly. We made sure it was very kid friendly. We started at a decent hour, so kids, it was before bedtime, but after dinner time. And we did, what was it? We did a music bingo. And so that was a lot of fun, where Ian played a song and then people are guessing the songs, and Seth, you kind of confirmed what they were. I think you gave a few hints, but you kept the energy going, and that was
no
really
puns.
fun.
No, I didn't throw any puns in there.
No, not at all. Never. But it was really fun to have an event where people could kind of pop in, pop out. They could play bingo, they could leave, but most people stayed for the whole time. It lasted a little over an hour. We actually ended up extending the auction by an hour because we were having so much fun. The auction, I think, was supposed to end at 8 p.m., but we were like, we're playing music, we're having fun. We'll close it at 8:30. So that was the time that basically the online auction closed. So from a recap, we put a goal of $20,000 for this entire auction. It was the 5-day auction. We were just thrilled that we made $25,000. So we exceeded the goal by $5,000, and I just didn't know where we would land. So I'm just thrilled that was the.
How much money do we need? Well, we need as much as possible. Well, what would be good? Anything.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, and the cool thing is, all of the proceeds of this auction, from the live piece to basically all of it, went back to Waldorf families. It was the COVID tuition assistance fund. So people who were struggling to send their kid. They knew that they were impacted.
Yeah.
They were going to be struggling to send their kid to school next year. We want to keep our community strong. We want to keep these people with us because we love them, and we love their families. We love their kids. So we did what we can to give it back to the families to make sure that they could come back. So,
well,
yeah.
that's amazing. And that was the end of the spring semester. Now, here we are. You know, it's August, right? I mean, yeah, sure, it's like July something, but it's pretty much August. We're like a day or two away.
Right.
School's about to start. The fall's about to roll in. Numbers are going to be down because class sizes are down. There's a huge change, and a lot of these parents are probably getting help, like you just mentioned, from because it's needed now. I mean, a lot of us, especially in the event industry, are eventless, and so there's no income, and we're all struggling. We know the situation.
Yeah.
What questions is Waldorf facing moving into the fall for fundraising, and what are some of the things that you're talking about possibly doing and shifting to be able to raise the necessary funds? Because I imagine funds are still needed, correct?
Oh yeah. Always. We always want to have very strong tuition assistance. We always want to be able to maintain, the beauty of our school and make sure that everybody is paid well, and really being able to maintain the level of the school and the education that without having to make any cuts. So, I look at my job as essential to creating that framework. So any and every single dollar that I raise goes into the school. I don't want to say I raise, but we collectively as a school raise. So kind of the things that I'm working on, I'm looking at annual fund. It's that annual ask of our current families, alumni families, and also current grandparents and anyone else out in the community to say, now is the time, give what you can. There are people who give very generously, and then there's also people who give generously on a smaller level too. So it's that annual ask that it's necessary. We build this piece into our budget, so I'm working on planning that. I also have a really cool program. It's basically it's called Georgia Goal. It's a way to give to the school with your tax liability. I know I just said the word tax and everybody's like, bye. But it's a way to basically create your give the tax liability to the state, and then it comes back to the school in a scholarship fund, tuition assistance funds the following year. And it also comes back to you in a refund. So if you give $1,000 to the school, you commit this, you actually pay the state, and then the next year you get the $1,000 refund back and the school gets $1,000. That's that in a nutshell. I just did my taxes 3 weeks ago and saw it full circle, and it sounds better, like it sounds almost too good to be true, but it actually happened. And I was like, wow, I just got all that money back. And then the school got that exact same amount. So I'm working on launching that. It's called Georgia Goal. And then just preparing for how to build community. Since our community has so many ways that we gather. So on a regular basis. So how do we do that safely? And if we're not doing it in person, how do we continue to do that? So those are the things that I'm working on and trying to wrap my head around.
Well, I look forward to wrapping my head around with some of those with you, because
definitely.
There's definitely a lot of ways to go about it with our wonderful community. Do you think, or do you see other organizations doing a lot more? Or let's change it. Let me change the question. Is there any organization you see doing something that you'd want to share that you find to be extremely innovative? And I'd have you prep this question, so it's okay if you don't have anything.
I think every organization out there, I'm on a lot of lists because I'm networking all the time. So I do see some really great organizations out there doing great work, locally especially. I think that's the key. But I've heard that the Giving Kitchen is doing amazing work. And so I think you should look into them.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I always end our show, always, it's our first show, but I always like to end by asking our guest, who should be the next guest? And you're saying Giving Kitchen. All right. Well, you know what? I will reach out to them and I will see if they will give a little bit of their kitchen time to us.
Yep.
They're an Atlanta organization, so that would be wonderful. So thanks for the suggestion.
Sure.
And is there anything else Waldorf-wise before we close you want to share or say?
Um, no, I mean, I really feel like we covered a lot of ground. I mean, for those of you that have been here from the beginning, you heard a little history. You heard what the parties that we threw last, let's see, it was May. I mean, so we've kind of walked you through the last 6 months and where we're going. So, please keep your fingers crossed and say your prayers to make sure that, everything goes super smoothly and safely as we enter into school. And actually 2 weeks from tomorrow is when we're starting school. So keep us in your thoughts. Cheer us on. Check our Facebook page. Actually, oh yes, there was an amazing article about Waldorf education and how one of the interesting things about Waldorf is that we keep the teacher, and the teacher stays with the class every year. So starting in first grade, second, third, fourth, all the way through eighth grade, this teacher is their rock, their school cornerstone, their touchstone. So it's actually one of the ways that helps reduce stress in a Waldorf environment education is that the teacher stays with us as the families and the kids. So if you're check out the Waldorf Facebook page, I think it was posted right around 11 o'clock. It's probably right before this live stream. So check out that article. It's really awesome and informative.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Cathy, so much for joining us today.
Sure.
And let everyone know, Thursday, we'll be back this Thursday. I've got Josh Shire, Director of Development from JELF, which is a Jewish Educational Loan Fund, Thursday, July 30th, right here. And then Giving Kitchen should be coming up. Thanks for the suggestion. We'll be talking with some folks with the Fox Theater Institute as well.
Oh, great.
That was recently confirmed. And whoever these guests bring us, we'll bring you. So thanks for tuning in. Cathy, take care. Hopefully I'll see you 6 feet distance, but I'll see you.
Right.
Is it 6 feet now, or did that get longer? I don't know.
Yeah. 6 or 8 feet. I don't know.
Everyone stay healthy, stay well, and until the next time, Coffee Connections. I'm your Rocktioneer. Thanks, Cathy.
Bye, everybody.